Hey guys, welcome to the BJJ Collaborative. Today our special guest is 6th degree Ricardo De La Riva black belt, Alexey Cruz. Guys, big hand for Alexey.
Thank you guys. Thank you for showing up. I didn't think with this cold you guys gonna be here. I thought it was gonna be like three or four. But yeah, now it's I don't even know what to say. I thought you guys actually were warmer than Maine, but it's almost the same right now. So yeah, I thought I would be running from it, but nope. Thank you guys. It's a great honor to be here. So I hope I can help you guys with something. It's like gonna put on your game on your jiu-jitsu journey. So also whatever you guys want to ask, I'm open. So let's enjoy the hour. All right. So there are a lot of smash passing talk and. In my real view for jiu-jitsu today as a sport, you are not going to just smash pass anyone anymore. People are too strong. So just smashing passing, like sometimes it takes a long time to accomplish your technique. So what I've been doing, and I have a lot of success with, is smash, release, then smash again. All right, so not just keeping the pressure, which is more my time, but now you can release, readjust, and then go back to your position. All right, so that's how I am function now as a practitioner. Okay, so it's kind of it's intuitive, but also you guys will understand that accordion effect. So you smash, you open, and you smash again. Okay, so go down there, Steve. What I've been doing, it's basically you make your opening, then you close the gap. Then you adjust your position so you have to release, and then you close the gap again. All right, so one of my favorite positions, and it's the over-under, and it's not a new thing, it's basic. Okay, what I do though is changing my hands and my grips as I need to, and also I use a lot of body motion to go against his pushing. Okay, so let's say I open the guard, okay, and then I close the gap, because a lot of people, and that happens a lot to people that release too much. When you open the guard, you create a gap. Once you place your knee back in so he doesn't close the guard, because I don't do double under a lot, okay? So when I close here, I have to close the gap again, all right? And then what I do is he moves, I move. So when I get here, he moves his hips, I'll move, and then I'll readjust. So I will always keep that distance close until I actually have the chance to do my over-under. Before I move my hands in, I move my leg around. So I can just kind of hold his leg and then go around with my knee and then go over his leg and close. Again, he moves, I move. If he moves his hips that way, I will adjust my body. I cannot allow my opponent to move freely and not close the gap, okay? So he moves, I'll close, okay? I'm gonna go over under, and then I'll go to what I like to do, just because I want you guys to start with something. So from this point on, then I can go, my hand goes on the edge of his pants and outside, and then your elbows, you're gonna drop all your weight on your elbow, and then your hand goes in, then you have the setup for the over under. All right, so the basic over under, your head is gonna go on the side. As you push the leg down, you're gonna be on your toes, never on your knees, always on your toes until you finish your pass. So you drop, you go right here. You see where my head is? Super important to have your head here. If your head is right here, that he can push across easily, so you're gonna have a few issues with that. So right here, all right? Now is the time that it's important to readjust your body, because I've seen a lot of people doing this and then moving, okay? If you raise your hip straight back, but you don't put weight on that knee, that leg is gonna go around you and you're gonna have a problem, okay? So what I do when I'm going, see my leg, same side as the arm under, that leg is start pushing me that side, okay? That's when I start my motion. Here, now I can go both toes and then push that leg down, okay? All of my weight is on my head and my shoulder. I pass, knee in, then I can release and go for my pass. So that's the system I use for my basic, okay? So that's how I want you guys to start. Don't worry about closing guard. Just push the bell, knee up, all right? If you pay attention on my foot, it's pointing outside, never pointing inside. You point inside, your knee goes in, De La Riva gets in. Okay, now I have to break that and pass that. Okay, so I'll point outside. My hand goes right on his thigh so I can push down, so I can fake here. If I fake here, he needs to lift his knee up. To be strong, he places his foot and lift his knee up. Then I can go around, okay? We're not going over his knee or over his thigh. We're just going around his shin. Here, lock, around, close the gap, okay? Hand goes edge of the pants, way here, make a grip, lock your head. Now again, remember what I do to start my motion. So this leg, the one that's under, is the one that starts. So I start pushing, okay? That leg goes, I start going, then I can open the other one. Not here, also not here. Middle, knee in, then you're ready to get there. All right? Basic, but it still works. All right? Any questions so far? Go ahead.
Your hand on the far side, were you hooking inside the pants?
You can.
Okay.
Side of pants or the belt for the beginning. Then I'm gonna move that hand around, okay? Always remember, that arm, that hand has a purpose. The purpose is to maintain his hips in place so you can move around the hips. If his hips moving and you try to move at the same time, he creates a bigger gap. With a bigger gap, his leg is gonna come in. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to prevent. So that's why I bring that and then I pull really tight, okay? You can do either on the cords of your pants or on a belt. Cords of the pants are better, always better, okay? You get there, that's a better grip. On the belt, it works the same because it's the same region. But if you lose the belt, your opponent loses the belt, then you don't have that anymore. So then you have to go just straight to the cords. So why not just go there right now, okay? The only thing is that some pants have this gap right here that you cannot put your fingers on in because that is a foul, okay? So don't do that. So it's either here, inside, or on a belt. And make it tight, okay? When you're drilling a smash pass, you don't release your weight. You make it tighter and tighter because you're not having anything against you, but it's a time that you have to feel the weight, okay? It's not like I get right here, there is a gap, I go and I get there, and I start pushing, move your hip. See, he moved his hips, right? Because I'm just I'm just drilling. Yeah, but when you drill, you have to make it in a way that you're gonna reach close to perfection later on. So if you create that bad habit from the beginning, that's what you're gonna do when you're rolling, right? So when you get here, and you get that position, I'll move your hip. There you go. Right, that's how you drill. All right, guys? Any questions so far? So we don't stick too much on this, then we can move on. All right, let's go. I'm here, okay? And then he's gonna do this. All right, go ahead. So that's the problem, right? If I place your head to the same side you're passing, I have the advantage now. So what I do here, I push him there, and then I bring them back. Okay? This is what I do if that happens. Okay? So your hand needs to get really tight. This part is gonna drop over my knee. No, go back. This leg is gonna come up, not this one. Okay? Yeah, right here. Now you have a place. I can't push you. See that? That's the difference. Keep your head that way. Now you move to your left side. Go ahead. Right here. So it's hard for me to even push him. All of his weight should be on his left ear, his left shoulder. Okay? So if I push, it doesn't matter how strong I am, he's still gonna manage. So this side is always lower than the other side. So this way. Yeah, right here. Now keep moving. So it doesn't matter. Okay? Because you're driving towards that side. If you come flat, both legs, it gets really easy for me to push and come back. So just remember that when you're doing the technique. All right?
Yes, sir.
So there are a few things that you can do. You can make pretty, I just want to make effective. Right? There is a jump that, people like to do. I just want to explain something before. So this hand is just to prevent his leg from going this way, nothing more. What add weight is actually your knee, okay? So if I go right here and his knee doesn't push back, I'm still gonna just go to the simple one, which is just basically moving forward here, okay? So the strongest way your opponent can find to raise that knee up, if you're blocking here, okay, is to place his foot on the ground and raise his knee. So now he has a post right here. Now he can do that. That's why you go around, okay? As you get this position, one thing that you can do is basically not even move your hand in. You're just gonna maintain the grip on the belt, and you're gonna open your elbow here. Not too much, just enough, and you move to the same side, and you can jump across this. What I'm doing, controlling the hip, as long as that leg is not wrapping my arm, it's easy to jump, okay? Or I can go right here, place my hand on the floor, and then do a jump. I can even go here, same thing, and do a jump, all right? It's prettier, but the problem with jumps is that you have to release your weight in a matter of jumping, okay? Physics, go figure, right? So I do that if I can see the hole my opponent is not waiting, expecting. I can do that, okay? But if I feel my opponent has a strong position and it's gonna be tough for me to jump, what I like to do, it's actually hold this side. Instead of going towards the leg, I either hold the belt or better, I go on the cords of his pants. Okay, so now I will go over under again, and I have two hands to control his hips. Okay, so I go here. Now move your hips. He moves, I move, then I make my pass. I'm gonna, as I move my body towards that side, I'm gonna push really hard with my elbow. Okay, so just do that little bump. And again, now that being a little sideways and more digging on one side on the other, it will help because his legs are just gonna pass through, okay? So grab it and punch, all right? But I'm gonna do a different start. De La Eva Guard is a big thing for me. As I train at De La Eva, of course, everybody does that there, okay? So when I get here and people go for De La Eva Guard, go ahead. Then you go around. Because they just opened that door for me, okay? So we're here, make your grips. Right here, I go back, I put my knee, and then he goes De La Eva. Just move around, okay? If you time that perfect, there's no more De La Eva Guard against you, Okay, every time you do that, people are going to be scared to do the La Eva Guard. Sometimes, go ahead. See that he's in there. And then I go. It hurts him.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. All right, so he goes. You're gonna open your knee and then go around. Okay, it works. You just have to understand, and it kind of, if I know my opponent and then I know he does the La Eva Guard, I kind of bait. It's like I'm here, he's doing whatever. It's like, then I have the position I'm in. Same position that we were before. Okay, now I go cord, under, and then cords of the pants. Okay, tight, just bring everything in. So this leg is never free. He's gonna battle with this one. As long as your head is on the side, it still won't matter, okay? And even if I'm here, he push my head back and I put that leg in. No, around my shoulder. Oh, yeah. And you go right here. I go cords of the pants. Go ahead. Then I lock that. Then I make my control. It won't matter because he's right on my elbow. If he goes on my shoulder, go ahead and open. Then I'm moving, okay? So what I do, I kind of just slide to right on my elbow, and then I have the same position. Let's focus on under, over, and go, instead of the second one. That was just an explanation. And this. Go de la Eva, open, lock, pants, under, pants, lock, okay? And when you're ready, this leg is start and guides your whole position, okay? So we get right here, this leg is start, you start moving. Once this knee comes out, punch, lock in, okay? Yes. To finish this, we're gonna go across, then your knee can come in. Because there's no hand underneath you. You're right here. You're good to bring that knee up, okay? So find the finish here, and you'll find the finish here. Doesn't matter, right? Any questions so far? Man, I'm losing the breath. All right, so go around, pants, push, there, in. All right, guys, go ahead. Yes. Just want to explain a few things about those passes, okay? A lot of people are having their hips too high, okay? And also, like your grips and the way you're going around the leg, also some people needs to change that, okay? So what I'm doing for the very beginning of the pass, I don't use a lot of my arms to address my opponent's leg. The reason I don't do that is because my arms might be busy or under my opponent control. So you're gonna have to make adjustments with your body and then move your knee in, okay? While your arms are being controlled by your opponent, okay? A lot of times when you train, you're not going to have your arms to yourself. You're gonna have to deal with the problem. You're gonna have to move around your opponent's grips, okay? I always say, Jiu-Jitsu is more about positioning than actually grips. People think it's different. Oh, I need to have strong grips. I need to do this for my grips. Yeah, but if you don't position your body well, your grips won't matter. It's more about positioning than actually grips, okay? So, if I am here, hold my arm, and then I push, I open this crazy strong legs, right here. And then I place here, right? So people are getting used to do this and then move the leg around. But that's not completely realistic because if he pulls my hand, okay, I can't move my arm. He raises his leg, then I go over here. He raises his knee, then I go around it. Okay, so I'm gonna have to kind of find a way to move around his legs even when my arms are not under my own control, okay? Which, you know, if I go here and he don't put that knee down, I can't do the technique at all, as right now. So now I'll have to address to grips, burst, pretend I'm going under, so he lowers his leg. I'm in the same position, okay? So I'll have to find a way to have my opponent to drop his knees so I can go to this position, okay? And that, the problem is, like, if you address to that on the technique, basically you like, literally me and Steve are gonna start rolling here. Because I wanna get to a point, he wants to prevent me to get to that point. The battle is gonna be in between that, whether I get that position or not, and then so on and so on. Now we're rolling, okay? So I'm talking that, let's say his leg is in the right place and I can do that. But I don't need my arms to be free in a matter to accomplish that, even if I'm rolling with someone, okay? So just understand that. Sometimes you're not gonna have all your perfect grips, but if you position yourself, I'm here and I expect he's gonna do a De La Riva. Now I'm here. See, my hand is in the same position. He didn't move at all. What I'm doing is that I'm getting closer to my grips. He's here. Did I move my hand? No, move my body towards it, okay? Right now, he understands that I'm going in. Naturally, what people usually do, they push me away. Now, I'm gonna close, and then I have the same position I was before, okay? So I reach my goal by adjusting myself, okay? That's how I get there when I'm in trouble. So just so you guys understand, this is my go-to position if I'm in trouble, okay? That's what I was explaining. If I'm feeling like, damn, Steve is too good, too strong today, I'm not feeling great about this, I will always gonna go back there. If I'm feeling fine, even though it's a hard roll, I'm gonna be somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. But if I feel like, damn, if I open up this, I'm gonna be screwed, I will close and I'll get that position, okay? If I was in a tournament, that's my go-to pass. I'm not gonna be playing around because I'm in a tournament, right? But if I'm playing to learn, to, evolve, then I wanna play around. But if I'm not feeling that he's friendly, I'm always gonna come back to this position because it's safe for me. If I get right here, there's not a lot he can do to prevent me from staying here, not passing, to stay here and gain time and then make him work and give him pressure, okay? So I'm talking about tactics now, right? But my next step is to safely move to a place I can pass, okay? And one of the problems I saw, it was like the hips are too high, okay? So just flip me over as soon as you feel it. See the problem? Because my hip were too high. Do the same thing. Okay? So you don't have to raise your hip too high. Okay? If you do that, you're gonna sacrifice base. Okay? And that is almost everything you do. If I get here and then I go this way, my hips are higher than my chest, he's gonna throw me over his body. Okay? Right here, it's easy for him to just place and then just move. So what I do, I compensate. Now it's hard for him. Well, of course, you have to compensate, but to a point that you're not vulnerable to what? To fall backwards. So you have to find that sweet spot that your balance is still there, right? This is what I do on that technique. Go here, move. As I feel my opponent slightly moving away from me, that's when his leg gets lighter and lower to the ground, okay? If he's not moving, he's square, that knee is high. I don't want to go over that knee, okay? I want to pass in a way that it's good for me because I'm not going to compromise my balance, okay? As soon as I feel him moving, I shoot, okay? So I use timing too, not just pure pressure and power. Even pressure passes it's about timing. Positioning and timing, it's gonna take you guys whatever you guys wanna go, okay? As soon as you find that, it's gonna be tough. Now you might not control to the end, because your opponent's gonna push, put the fingers on your eyes, you know, whatever he's gonna do to escape, okay? But you actually got on the side, all right? You had a chance, and now you can move on from there, all right? So now, just the second part that I explained a little is I'm here, and he plays either here or when I'm transitioning, and then he opens and put the knee in. So this is how I do. Right now, I'm exposed on this side. So you can place your leg before he even try. So I'm here, he's gonna push, place your leg. Okay, pull my arm and sweep me that way. Okay, do the same thing. Now you're losing everything, okay? So there is a possibility that he's gonna take me on that side. I'm already right here. Not here, not back here, okay? You have to know where he can sweep you, which is this way, okay? Is that angle, that's where I place my leg. He doesn't try anyway. Now his leg slide all the way to my elbow. Then I'm gonna lock that. It's on my shoulder, he goes. I let it slide. Now I lock that with my elbow. Okay? From here, that's when you can actually go and make your pass. But again, it's not this, it's simply here. See, there is a difference of going here, then just moving down. Push, then control. And last, I don't attack the high side control, I attack the low side control. Okay? There is a moment, I call that crazy horse moment. As soon as you pass, all of you, and then bump and then goes and then shoot, it goes everywhere. 30 seconds later, if you're in a good control, he gets tired and he stopped doing that because it becomes pointless. That's when I move forward, okay? So when I pass, or even here, right here. Because if I move forward, push me away, right? But if I'm lower here, push me away now. See, his arm is almost extended and I didn't move at all, right? So make your control. He's gonna push, he's gonna move. Now, place your hand. Okay? Now you can go and attack forward. Okay, so we're gonna do it. I need the person on the bottom to help. We're gonna start from here, not from the pass. This one, hand on the belt. Gonna push my shoulder back, place my knee, drop, raise that leg. Okay? Pass, control the bottom. All right? Then, later on, you're gonna move your arm forward. All right, guys?
Yes, sir. Again, big hand for Alexey. Thank you so much. All right, Alexey, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thanks for coming
Thank you.
down. I know it's a long drive. The pressure passing, that was awesome. The details, something that you always do every time I get to, be on the mat with you and learn from you. I always, you and Dedeco, especially with the details, I love it. Even there was a point where you were on Steve, and when you just rolled your hip up a little high, and you could see the change in his face, and I said, man, that's it. It's all the details and how you're balancing and where you're putting the weight, where you're distributing the weight.
Yeah, details are everything in jiu-jitsu. Of course, if you put a lot of details to a white belt, it's gonna be like you just speaking a completely foreign language. But as they progress, so you show a big picture and then you go detailing that picture. That's when like at the level goes higher, then you can focus more on that, and that's basically the difference in between white, blue, purple, brown, and black belt. That's what makes details. It's what makes the technique work or not. And you, as I said, you go levels, you can focus more in the points that actually are going to change in between fail and success.
It was because you showed that, I guess you could say it was one pass, but not really, because there was so many layers of not only what you're thinking of doing, but what he's going to do. So you were, just discussing, hey, by him putting his foot on the mat, gives him more leverage to drive his knee in, then you could circle your knee out, or wherever you were going to put your grip placement. But something else, too, that you said that was really beautiful was when you were saying about, them having your control of your arms, so you can't always have your grips, so utilizing your body to the fullest for positioning purposes.
Yeah, positioning. If you add positioning to the technique that you're planning to use, then the success the success rate is a lot higher. And also the biggest problem is, if you are a smaller guy, lighter guy, how can you go against bigger guys? You have to present yourself stronger and heavier. So you present yourself in a better base with the elbows a lot tighter and blah blah blah. So that's how you can tell. Jiu-jitsu can say that jiu-jitsu is an art that a smaller guy can overpower a stronger guy. So that's why. And I'm heavy right now, but I was a lightweight my entire career. So I have to train with super heavy guys, and it was fine because once you know how to position, then you actually can overpower some stronger guys. Of course, if the stronger guys have a lot of technique also, then yes. Yeah. Then there's not a lot you can do besides to kind of use more tactics. But when he doesn't have the same amount of technique, then actually you can succeed.
Now, saying that the bigger guys, do you find too that, more than not, bigger guys have a certain style, and then each weight class kind of has a certain style, so it kind of like offsets a little bit, or not?
Yeah, well, it used to be more true. It's not as much to the reality we're living right now, because you have a big guy like Busheshak, he can move, he's flexible, he can do it all. Yeah. And then you have smaller guys that actually go in and get stronger. So I think today's jiu-jitsu, it's more your own characteristic than your weight characteristic. Now jiu-jitsu changed a lot from when I used to be, because as a lighter guy, you have to go through this way because there's no other way for you to succeed against heavier guys. And today is completely different. It's completely mixed. Yeah. So what is gonna give you success or not is how well you can position yourself and how well you can prevent techniques from coming, how well you can actually guess what your opponent is going to shoot at you.
So speaking of, like you said, when you first were coming up, so how did you come across De La Riva? How did you start with De La Riva? Like when and how did this all take place?
So I used to do taekwondo and skateboard. They don't match because I sprained my ankles and I could not kick anymore. So I have to give up taekwondo, and I really liked it. And I was kind of like, not really believing in jiu-jitsu. Like I don't think someone can get that close to me because I can keep my kicks and I can maintain the distance, so I can do all of those. And then my best friend at the time, he was like, Alexey, you should try jiu-jitsu. And because of my foot and I love sports, I had to try something else. And I love not just sports, and I love martial arts. So I trained a lot of judo before, I trained taekwondo before, and then I wanted to try some martial arts instead of just skateboard or volleyball, which I used to play back in the day. And then he brought me to a class at De La Riva, which was 2 buildings from my building. So I was super lucky to have De La Riva teaching at this place. It was a fitness gym, and the space was very limited. It was literally, I think it was, so just put like 14 mats together, and that's what the space. And that was when he first left Carson to teach. He's still training at Carson, but that's when he first left Carson to teach, was at this place called Marco Otávio gym. And then he had that little space there.
It was a fitness gym?
It was a fitness gym, and then they found a little little gap that they put the mats in there.
Yeah.
And De La Riva started teaching there. And a few months after that, my friend started training there. And then he finally convinced me to go and try a class.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, so where is it? And I was like, oh, it's right here. I was like, whoa, it's right next to my house. I'm going to go. So I went there, and it took me three and a half weeks to try my first class. So I sat on the bench, and I saw the training for 3.5 weeks until finally I said, I'm going today. Actually, De La Riva already knew me before I even stepped on the mats, because I was sitting on the bench every Tuesday and Thursday for those 3.5 weeks just to see jiu-jitsu.
Now, what were you hesitant about? Just
I am claustrophobic as hell.
Oh, okay.
So I saw those guys really close. I was like, I don't know. I want to learn, and it's a characteristic of me. Before I go and try anything, I want to learn as much as possible before I even try.
Oh, okay.
So before I start volleyball, I look and I saw people playing, blah, blah, blah. Before I start taekwondo, then I saw a lot of my friends training, and then I went there and then I look around. But jiu-jitsu took me longer because it was intriguing. So that's the problem. It's like, it was so intriguing. Then I was like, man, I don't know. It's just so weird.
Yeah.
You know, and I used to joke with them because it was so close proximity. And, you know, but it was literally just jokes because I knew the effectiveness of jiu-jitsu at that point. And then finally I was like, okay, I'm trying. And that was a Tuesday night. Like I said, De La Riva only had Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday classes at that point. And then I tried. And I trained with a friend of mine. I was 18, and there was this kid. He was 13, and we go to the same school, so I knew him. And I was like, hey, how are you, man? And blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah. He was a yellow belt. And he was 13, and I was 18. And he smashed the hell out of me because I was way stronger. So every time he passed, I just ejected him away. And then he kept coming and coming. I was like, man, I'm getting tired. And I can't take this kid away from me. And at that very moment, I was like, now I see the point of this. And then I came back on a Thursday. And then I came back on a Saturday. And then on a Saturday, I already had learned guard armbar, and then I got a blue belt. Of course, he probably let me do it. But in my mind, I got it, right? But that was like, oh my God, I can do this? And with this little knowledge, I can actually accomplish this? I was like, I'm going to come back on next Tuesday, and the next Thursday, and the next Saturday, and I was hooked. And lucky for me, 2.5 weeks after I started, De La Riva opened everyday classes, because these classes were start to get packed, and it was like such a tiny place. So when the first time I went there was 8 people. The third time I went there was already 20-something people. And when he opened every day, he opened at 4, and then 4 to 5:30, and then 6 to 7:30. And he packed right away. You know, and then after that, he opens at 7 a.m.
Was his name already kind of out at that time? Did people know?
It was in the jiu-jitsu world, but not in a way you would think that it would be. You know, there was the world of jiu-jitsu was so tiny at the time that I only heard about him the first time I stepped in there. So, and I talked to other people about it. The only reason they knew about him was because Carson Gracie was me going to the beach. In the middle of my walk to the beach, Carson Gracie's gym was right there. So I will talk to people that knew Carson, and they were like, oh, De La Riva, you train with De La Riva? That guy is incredible. He's small, man, but that guy is tough as hell, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, cool. And then I found out how great he actually was by talking to people and learning about his history.
What was the room like training at that time? Like, who was in the room? How was the nostalgia? Like, looking back now, what are some of the great memories? Like, because I love hearing you talk to Dedeco or when Laborio, like Origin Camp was the last time I saw you, hearing everybody talk just about different things that came out. I love the story one time. You were like, yeah, one day Ezekiel did this choke like that. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You were like in the room, one day Ezekiel does this choke?
So, one of the best memory I have, it was actually, I was sitting on the bench and Liborio came to me. It was like, hey man, shook my hand, spoke with me. It's like, oh, you're gonna try? I was like, yeah, eventually. And then he walked away. I have no idea who he was. And then my friend goes like, do you know him? My friend that was training, I was like, no, he just talked to me. He's like, man, that guy is a monster. He beat the hell out of everyone here. And I was like, really? I was like, the nicest guy. It's like, yeah, you will see. So then when my first roll, or my second night, Liborio was there, and then I trained with Liborio. And he let me get his back, and I was like, I was the only guy that he tried to escape, and then he just didn't threw me across the room. And he was like, oh man, that was kind of like very nice of you, because I tried the same thing with everyone and I could get out, but you were like a little more stuck in there. I was like, ooh, I'm kind of a big deal now. But so yeah, De La Riva, Liborio was a purple belt. And then a lot of people from Carson, they had girlfriends that used to go to the fitness gym, so they would go there. Oh, okay. Bebel, Duarte, then Alexandre Macedo was a black belt at the time, so they would start going there. And as soon as I got...
De La Riva was more senior than Liborio?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
I didn't know that.
yes.
I didn't know that.
De La Riva was already a black belt for a few years, and Liborio was still purple.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, when I was going there and I first got my blue belt, those guys, Liborio, Bebel, Valide Ismail, De La Riva, Macedão, and some other guys, Amauri, they start doing a secret training at 3 p.m. And I found out about it. Yeah. And I went there to look, because that's what I do. Yeah. I go look and to learn. Yeah. And I was just innocent, sitting on the bench, looking them roll, and there was a not even number of partners. Yeah. So there were 7 guys, and they need someone to go and roll with them. And I was just right there. Yeah. And they were like, Alexey, do you want to fill it up this hole for us? I was like, sure, man. Yeah. And then suddenly I was invited to come every Monday and Wednesday when they were having that training. So I'll get there at 3, train with those guys, get beat up, I suffer so freaking much. Yeah. But again, like if I can go roll with those guys and those guys are not completely annihilating me, what's gonna happen in a tournament? Right? So I was going to tournament so confident.
That's awesome.
Because, I get to train with those guys. For people that doesn't know, those guys were the prime of jiu-jitsu on their time. Yeah. They would win every match, and it was unfair to the other opponents. They will submit, or they will score so many points all the way through the final, all the way to the gold medal. Those guys were the best at their times. So I was just training with the best of the best right there. Yeah. So I grew up seeing those guys battling, and the way they approach to jiu-jitsu, the way they see jiu-jitsu, how they train, how much love and effort, sweat and tears, and it was natural for me to do the same thing.
Yeah, I've heard some insane stories too, like not only competition, the actual physical aspects, but the psychological things that too, like a guy like Walid would do, where psych out his opponents. I heard one time he hurt his arm, so he put a cast on the other arm, so he had 2 casts. I don't know, is that true?
Not the cast, but it kind of is the cast, but he actually wrapped the other arm. Yeah. So he got a Kimura and his arm was broken. Yeah. That was in the semifinal. And quarterfinal, he fought the semifinal and the final, winning the tournament with a broken arm. That's how tough Valide is. He was the first real professional jiu-jitsu practitioner. He lived out of jiu-jitsu, competing, not working like De La Riva. Yeah. So De La Riva was amateur because he had to work to pay for his tournaments. Yep. Valide actually made guys sponsors to just compete. Yeah. So he was the true first professional. What you see today, people have to thank Valide a lot a lot because he was the guy that searched for that he paved the road. Yes.
Yeah, because all those guys started getting sponsored. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that was what a crazy time that must have been.
So my first big tournament. This is how tough people used to do. I fought this guy, my first tournament. So I fought. His name is Paulo Baumblatt, and our match was tough. So I didn't like to do passes before. So I'm really good at guard, flexible, blah, blah, blah. So I'm doing guard, I'm fine. I'm like nervous, of course, but I'm doing guard, I'm good. And I swept the guy and I pass over, but there was no advantage back in the day. So I swept, knee on the belly, and then he pulled me over. And he kept fighting and tried to pass. 6 minutes, it was like non-stopping. Match is over. We stand up, the referee grabs our arms, and I'm waiting for the referee to make a decision. And the guy's looking at me weird. He's just like kind of swinging and looking at me, and I thought he's going to punch me. So I move a little back. The referee raised his arm, and when he dropped his arm, he fall on his face. Yeah, he just passed out. He was looking at me weird because he was already not there.
Yeah.
He was already gone. And I was like, man, you could have passed out like 2 seconds before. They would totally not give you the victory because it was a 0-0 match.
Yeah.
So they gave it to him because back in the day, the rules would favor the passer, not the guard. If you're doing guard, it doesn't matter. Unless you have like really possibilities of submission, they'll always give to the passer. Even after what I've done. Like I swept and went over and all of that. And then he didn't even have a chance to pass my guard. But back in the day, the rules were there. So I don't complain. Okay? I'm not complaining about the referee's decision because that was the reality at the time. But then he just passed out. But that's made me realize like that guy was out before the match ended. He just kept pushing. But you don't see that anymore. It's really hard to see that. You see a guy that he goes almost black out in the middle of the match, but he's still going. Like you see Leandro Loda do that, but not a lot of other people do. You know, Preguiça does that, but some other people like, I can't do anything. This guy's better than me, and they kind of give up. You know, back in the day, there was no such a thing. So,
when did you know you wanted to do jiu-jitsu for your life? Like not just as a practitioner, but also as your career. Like, when did you know, like, oh, you know what, this is something I'm going to do forever?
It's funny because I never actually thought about it. It was just turning natural. So I got my purple belt, and I just trained. You know, I would train in the morning. I was doing, you know, in between 6 to 8 hours a day, like semi-professional, because there's no money involved. So it was amateur trying to get professional. But there's no money, so it's still going to be amateur. And then I got a offer to do some classes in this place far away. I didn't have a car, so I could not drive. So my friend was like, I will drive you. And then you go there, you teach, and they will give you some money. I was like, cool, because I need money to, you know, go out. And then De La Riva finally told me, like, there is this place in the center of Rio de Janeiro on the industrial area that I teach, but I can't be there anymore. It's at noon. Do you want to take it? And then I went there. I was like, all right. This is kind of nice because I get to train and I get to teach and I get to get some money. So I taught there for a few months, and then a friend of mine that was a personal trainer, he was opening his own place in Tijuca, where the deck was from. And then he asked, like, Alexey, I have a small space, which was the same amount of De La Riva, very tiny. Do you want to teach there? I was like, sure, why not? And so I started teaching there 3 nights a week, then it become every night. And that's when I was like, I really realized, like, okay, I'm going to do that for a living. I don't care about anything else. I don't care about being a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, or construction, or anything. I just want to be in a gym where I can teach and train at the same time. That's amazing. That's a dream coming true. Still, wasn't thinking about money and all of that. It was just like, I just loved my art so much. That's what I want to be involved.
Yeah.
And that's what. But it was like, there's not like a real moment. I was like, all right, this is what I want to. No, it was just kind of happening until like, all right, it's going.
Yeah.
And finally, I had the Declan de la Riva inviting me to go to a different gym and work with them. Still in Tijuca, Rio de Janeiro. And then we moved to a different location. That was when I made the decision to go to a different state.
So now at De La Riva's, he had the morning and night class, right? And was there a little bit of a friendly rivalry from morning and night?
Yes, that was a huge friendly rivalry in between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m.
Yeah.
I was very competitive. Me and the guys on 4 p.m. And the people at 7 a.m., they were like messing with us.
Yeah.
But we didn't care. They said, like, Alexey, why don't you come here at 7 because the training is harder. I was like, no, it isn't. I'm at 4. The hardest training is at 4. And they're like, no, it isn't. Look at the amount of people. I was like, yeah, but I'm at 4. You know, so, and then it became like that friendly competition which we still have today. Yeah, especially me and the Deco. He claims that 7 a.m. was harder, but he's always there at 4 p.m. because he still has some energy left because the training at 7 wasn't that really hard. But yeah, no, we did. Yeah. When we go in the morning, we didn't want to lose. Even though we was training, we didn't want to lose. So yeah.
Now, at what point did you decide to leave Brazil and come to the U.S.?
All right, that was later on. I didn't have a reason to move besides my family. So my mom was living here for, I think it was already 12 years or 13 years. And I realized, I was teaching a few gyms in Brazil, so I didn't have money problem. It was not a lot of money, but then I didn't really care. So I look and I was like, my mom is getting older and I haven't seen my mom often for so long, and now I can see her like once a year. So I was like, you know what? She applied for me because she's American citizen. So she applied for me to become American, for my green card. So I was like, you know, I'm going. And then I make that decision, and it literally took like 6 months for the whole process to go through. At the whole moment, I was like, still debating. I was like, should I really go? Should I really try? Like, what is up there for me, you know, besides my mom? But then eventually everything went through. I was like, you know, I'm going. It's going to be fun. And also I get to spend the time with my mother. And so I came.
Now, when you moved, did you start the gym fairly soon, or did you?
No, I worked in some other places. I started in the basement, then I moved to this little other gym, and then finally I got to work in 2 different places throughout Portland. And a couple of years after that, that's when Brian Leclerc made me an offer, like, Alexey, I just want to have a place to train, and right now you divide in 2 places. So you teach at this place Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and this other place Tuesday and Thursday. And I have to pay 2 monthly fees to go to those 2 places. It would be nice if you have your own place and we just get to train, you know. And I was like, all right, then finally I said yes, and we started, but it took a little while. I'm really like, I'm not a guy that like do big steps. So I was like, I don't know, man. He was like, no, don't worry. The financial part, it's with me, and the technical part is with you. I was like, all right, because I don't know how to run a business. And then he was like, well, I'll teach you, and then we go from there. I was like, okay. Then I opened my first gym.
So your initial move was for your mom and for family.
Yes, it was for family. Like, I would be lying if I say it was for jiu-jitsu. I came here to help my stepdad on his job because he was a cabinet maker when he was alive. He was diagnosed with cancer, so he needed help. And it was like, oh, I'll pay you this amount per week, and then you can still have your gym aside or work somewhere else, and then you're going to make a very nice amount of money. I was like, okay, cool. But, you know, if my mom wasn't here, I probably would not be here.
Oh, okay. Now, I remember, too, like, so what year was that when you came? Because when did the Deco come? 2002 or 4?
I think the Deco is 2002.
Yeah, I think
I came in 2007.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's when I got here.
Oh, that makes
January
sense.
16th of 2007.
Because when I met you the first time was at the dentist. The Deco had the school in the dentist.
It's still in the dentist's office.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I remember you walked in. I was like, oh, who's this guy? Like, yeah, it was.
I'm gonna smash that guy.
No, it was just like, I remember him saying, oh, this is my friend from Brazil on the De La Riva, and I was like, oh, all right. And that's when BJJ Weekly was getting going. And is that how you met Pete, through there?
No, I met Pete because I taught.
He became a student of yours, right?
Yes, but there's a long story behind. So I got here, and 2 weeks after, my sister came from California as a surprise, and then my mom has a timeshare, and the timeshare is in Rangeley. So we took my sister, my stepdad, my mom, and then my daughter that came with me. They took us to go to Rangeley. And then when we were in Rangeley, we go into this little store, and my stepdad was all proud of me. And so we were paying something at the cashier, and he goes like, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And I was like, Papa, they probably don't know Jiu-Jitsu here.
Yeah.
And she was like, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? And he goes like, yes. I was like, my husband does that. I was like, oh, really? Yeah, he does it here in Rangeley. They have like a small gym that is attached to the resorts you guys are in, the timeshare.
Yeah.
So you guys can go there. I was like, oh, really? I never thought about it because it was like really high in the mountains, north of Maine, blah, blah, blah. I was like, who would have thought?
Yeah.
So the next day, no, that afternoon, I went to the place. And then I met a guy there. And I explained who I was, of course, not in a way that I was just like, no. I was just like, hey man, I'm from Brazil, with my awesomely bad English. I'm from Brazil, and do you guys have a class tomorrow? I can come and train. And it was like, no, but I can set up a class for you. It's like, so you trained for a while? I was like, yeah, I've been training for a while. I'm a black belt, blah, blah, blah. He was like, oh, no, come tomorrow.
It was like finding a unicorn. Oh my God, a black belt?
Yeah, like in Rangeley in 2007. Yeah. And so I went there the next day, and for my surprise, there were like 12 guys in there. And then within those guys, there was another one. And after that class, which I didn't want to take any money, they were like, no, we wanted to give you this. I was like, no. I'm just here to train and have fun. And I was like, no, we really wanted to pay you because we wanted you to come back and blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, fine. So I used the money to my first snowboard slide. So he invited me to do a seminar at his place in Farmington. He had a barn, and it has some mats in there, and so I went there. And then right after that, the guy invited me to do a couple more, but then I asked about Peter, and he said something that was, I wasn't sure how true that was, but I wasn't here to make any decisions related to that, and then to be in confrontation with anyone. So I was like, you know what, those guys are having some issues, so I don't want to be involved. So I stopped doing classes for that guy. And the way he spoke about Pete was really bad and negative, so I kind of like kept the distance from Peter until Pete finally came to Chase where I was teaching, and he was like, can I talk to you? I was like, sure. Let's go. And then we start chatting. He explained what happened. And I found his story to be more truthworthy. And I was like, you know what, man, you can come here and train. Yeah. So he started training with me from time to time because he still live far. And not after that, he was like, oh man, I have this plan. and I would love to go around and record people, la la la. So he did with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? There's someone that I'm pretty sure you're gonna like it. His jiu-jitsu skills, it's even higher than mine. He's way more technical than I am, and he's been here a little longer, blah, blah, blah. So I introduced them, Peter and Dedeco, through the phone, and then person.
Yeah.
Person to person. And that's when they fell in love with each other, and yeah.
Yeah, you can't
I was set aside. So I was, you know, that wife that got ditched in the middle.
Yeah, you can't find more genuine guy. Pete straight up. You know where you stand with him.
Yes.
He's very genuine.
It's very true.
So, yeah,
very true.
Yeah.
So that's why I listened to him, but I could not see truth on the words of the other guy. I was like, there's something not adding from what he's saying from what the other guy said. It was really like resentful and negative and kind of like a bad mojo from that guy. And then Peter was like, no, this is what happened. He just didn't like me because I'm too heavy. And then he complained of my weight, and then he started saying those things about me. And then I just want to train jiu-jitsu. I was like, that's all you want? I'm here for you. But then he started BJJ Weekly and started traveling everywhere. And then that's where origin start, because from that idea he like, all right, jiu-jitsu is something great, I want to pursue that, I want to find a way to do so now we have origin.
BJJ Weekly, especially at the time, there wasn't anything like it. It was such like a great site where you had,
incredible.
Now you see stuff like it, but I feel like everything.
No, BJJ Weekly was also
so
when you say when something is like just started, it was like they're like
the timing of it.
Yeah, but there is a word for it. In Brazil, it's precursor, which means you're the first one. Oh. So you clear the path for everybody else.
Yeah, because it seems like what you see now is just something, or a piece of what they did.
Yes. That's very true.
Yeah.
Same with Origin. That's how we start Origin. Yeah. The story of Origin. It was like, we're going to start with this because, we can't rely on overseas stuff all the time because they can do whatever they want. So they went behind Peter's back and used his brand to sell Origin products in overseas, in Pakistan or Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia. And then that's when Peter was like, you know what, we need to do something American made so those guys cannot keep stealing our ideas. That's how he started Origin. Now he had the Deco help
that's
from the day one.
Didn't he go to a tournament one time after he made that backpack and then he saw his backpack with a different brand?
No, there was even before the backpack.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he gave this Pakistanese company his design for the gi, and he was taking the gi from them, and Peter won his division to go to Abu Dhabi Pro.
Yep.
There. When he got there, he saw his brand in people from the area, which he never sold his gis overseas. Yeah. So there's no way those people could have the material. And then he asked those guys, and they said like, oh, this is from this place and that place. Yeah. And finally he was like, no, I didn't sell to you. This is my brand, blah, blah, blah. He spoke with the company. That's when he decided, I was like, we need to do it here. Yeah. His backpack was similar story.
Yeah.
Right? So he launched his backpack on his website. And then a few months later, he goes to the Worlds. And his backpack has a unique design. And then he saw same design, but different brand.
Yeah.
Like hanging on this guy's little store at the Worlds, and he asked the guy, I was like, oh yeah, this is blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, man, that's my design. Yeah. And the guy was like, no, it isn't. This is designed from this factory. I was like, nope, that is my design. It's, how do you say it when you copy someone?
Yeah, copyright. It was a very unique, distinguished style.
You're copywriting me. Yeah. This is my design. Yeah. So that's when he decided to stop doing backpacks because it was too easy.
To rip it off?
Yeah, exactly. So he's been through that, a lot. like a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like people are just stealing everything everywhere.
Yeah.
And not just material, like techniques. This guy develop a technique. This other guy puts on a tournament. Suddenly it's this guy technique.
Yeah, yeah.
Or that
Give
guy
it a different
technique.
name.
People are just advertising whatever they can. You know, they literally just panhandling everything so
The
they can
DVD
make a little
sales,
few more bucks and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like a technique that you see people doing in 1998, but it was not recorded. And then now some people doing 2010 now become this guy technique.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's this guy technique.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I've actually done this 10 years before this guy even started jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
so.
it's basically marketing and packaging and trying to make something look.
But again,
it's bad.
it's stealing.
It's bad.
People are just stealing everything they can. There's no more, pride.
Yeah.
People just doing whatever, as long as they make some money, some bucks around. And I disagree with that. It doesn't belong to you. Don't take the blame.
So with your time in as a practitioner, a coach, an athlete, what do you feel like, kind of speaking on those same terms, what do you feel now with the sport aspect of jiu-jitsu? How do you feel, and I'm just saying across the board, all the different tournaments, but how do you feel, like, what do you think about, like, where it's heading?
So back in the day, just a little history. Back in the day, we would have 2 tournaments throughout the year, 2 big tournaments, okay? And you go there, you showcase your training, and then you will take another 6-7 months so you can do it again.
Yep.
So losing that tournament will take months for you to be on a downside so you can go back and prove your value on the next one, right? Then tournaments start becoming a little more common and more common. So that developed and evolved, made the jiu-jitsu evolved. Also back in the day, there was no YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. For you to record a fight or a training, first never recording trainings, but just you go in a tournament and you record the tournaments. It was expensive because cameras were very expensive. So not a lot of people could have them. Yeah. Like today, you can buy, $50, you buy a camera. Yeah. Back in the day, you will have to expend $1,000 for a crappy camera.
Yeah.
So everything you develop at your gym that is not basic, it was a secret until you could showcase in a tournament. There was no seminars. There's no people from other gyms visiting your gym, because basically you're just spying.
Yeah, it was competition against academies.
Yes, so you keep secret until you can go to a tournament and use that as a surprise attack to your opponents. I remember I could not train at Carson because there was a tournament and a guy from De La Riva beat a guy from Carson, and Carson started yelling at De La Riva in the middle of the tournament. And De La Riva was warming up to go fight Royler Gracie, and Carson just like, you're never gonna bring your students at my gym ever, la la la. So there was no such a thing of visiting gyms. Then things started changing because it became more popular. So more people go to this gym and then they go to the other gym, and also Carson moved. Carson moved to the U.S. because UFC, because of Vitor Belfort. And then he did a seminar here. And then people are like, wait a minute. So Carson is the guy that kept everything tight, and now he's open up, so let's all open up. Yeah. And then more information was available to whoever wanted to go and learn. And then video recording became more common. YouTube came to our knowledge. You could post stuff now.
What do you think about YouTube? Because it's a weird one. It's like a double-edged sword. It's like,
it is.
A part of me wants to say, hey, like college or any other education, whatever it is you want to study as much as possible. But then another part of me goes, there was something to be said for everything coming from your coach, your lineage. There was something to be said for discovering stuff on the fly,
Yes.
right? It was kind of, it had
Yeah,
more of this unique creative.
That was exactly my point. So the time to learn was a lot longer because your source of information was a lot less.
Yeah.
So you didn't have a lot of source of information besides your teacher, your friends in there, and eventually someone that will come and visit, or a good friend from another gym that you will have connections, and then you secretly go and train with them. Because I did train at Carson, even though I was not allowed there.
Yeah.
If Carson saw me there, he will yell at me and kick me out. But then my friends were like, Alexey, Carson isn't here, come train. Boom, I'll go there.
Yeah.
So I done that. I went to Carson one time at 3 a.m. We were like at night partying, blah, 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 but I never drink. So people were drinking, and suddenly someone was like, oh, Peno is sleeping, let's go to Carson. 3 a.m., 4 a.m., we just went there and trained.
That's
funny.
funny.
So I always trained there, even though Carson didn't really know. But then you start having more options, more source of informations, and then tournaments start to become more common. They made a federation that actually people had to go and follow the rules. And we had a horrible problem with the referees.
Was that
horrible?
early IBJJF, or was
There
that
was
something
no
else?
federation before.
Nothing. Oh, yeah.
No, it was just, we're going to do a big tournament, so we have this sponsor, everybody will punch in. But there was not a lot of companies that wanted to put the money because jiu-jitsu was not known.
Yeah.
So why are you putting money here? Because you're not going to take anything out of
Yeah.
it. All right, so there was a place called Company Cyclone that started doing those tournaments. It was literally like a crappy medal, and they'll give a T-shirt for you when you sign in. They wouldn't even charge to people to go watch, but then people will go and compete those tournaments. And then some little, very tiny tournaments that you go gym against gym, but besides that was just company doing tournaments. And then there was another company that was a rival of company that did the name of Toulon, and they will do that, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly someone else came. And then someone else was like, oh my God, jiu-jitsu is growing. I want to put my brand there. So let's sponsor this tournament. And then another tournament was in the middle. So instead of 2 throughout the year, now you have 3 or 4. And then suddenly you have 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Suddenly you have every month. You have a small tournament.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they start calling state. Then suddenly they call the nationals. That's in 1995. The first nationals was in 1994 called Mameluke, which was the company sponsoring. But it was the first official tournament. They already had made the federation. Federation was getting stronger. They were having people to sign up for the federation, or they could not compete, which was not like that before. And that's like 1990, 1991.
The thing of
Yeah.
being a member.
So 1994, they made the first Brazilian Nationals. 1995, they did the first Brazilian Nationals called Brazilian Nationals. In 1996, they had the first Worlds, which I was there. I was lucky. I'm like Forrest Gump. I'm always there, never the main character. So, but I was always around. So they had the first Worlds, and suddenly they start having state, Worlds, nationals, interstate, and they did the team, which was, to me, it was the most fun tournament I've ever competed.
So it's team versus team.
Team versus team. So you have lightweight, and then you have heavyweights. Lightweight go all the way to 78 kilos, and heavyweight is above 78 all the way to whatever chunk you are. So now you have, state, nationals, team, worlds, and then smaller tournaments all throughout. What will you call the opens now?
Yeah.
And then they start getting better. Now for you to be part of that you have to be affiliated, and then there's more set of rules that you have to follow. You have to be, let's say, a good athlete. Also, you have to treat well other people. You cannot just go there and yell and fight and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Then it started growing and growing to the point that we have today. So, my opinion, Jiu-Jitsu had it and is still heading on the right direction. As athlete, I wish that was a little earlier. I would have competed a lot more.
Yeah.
As an instructor, I like it because people can be competing, and there's a lot of other organizations out there. Some I like it, some I don't, but they are there.
Yeah.
So there is whatever you like now. You like no gi, go no gi. You like gi, go gi.
Yeah.
You like, smacking people's face with open hands.
Yeah.
You go there. You can do it. So it's out there. It's more diverse. It's open to everyone. Anyone can train. Anyone can compete at any time they want.
Yeah.
So in that matter, also the level of referees are. People can complain whatever they want, but from when I started to what you guys have today,
yeah,
the difference is water to wine.
Yeah.
So now you can even argue with the referees. Back in my time, you actually go to terms, like I've saw a referee and athletes having fights in the middle of a tournament.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the tournament will stop for an hour or two and then go back to the tournament.
Well, even now, the smaller organizations, too, have certification courses for the refs.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
My only complaint of what's happening today, it's the amount of rules. There are so many little rules that it gets harder, not just for the refs, because now they have way more things to think about it, but for the average viewer.
Yeah.
They cannot understand all the rules.
It's
just like football. If you don't know a lot about football and you watch football and then you see those referees calling this and that, you're like, oh, come on, that's nothing. There is a reason they call it, but I still think that you could cut a lot of those to make it easier for the refs, because a lot of things that the refs do with their naked eye, they guess what happened sometimes because it happens so fast.
Yeah.
You can catch everything, so they have to kind of guess. With video that you can do that, but again, it's like even with video, I've seen football get it wrong. Yeah. Like I see what happened, and they still don't call it. I was like, what? They can see on the video over and over. It happens the same thing in Jiu-Jitsu. And having that many little rules, it gets harder and harder on the ref and on the viewers.
For the viewer too, I didn't even think about that for the viewer, because I always look at it as a coach. It's like, oh, what tournament are you competing in? Okay, now we got to get ready for this rule set.
Yeah.
So I'm always thinking about it like from that point of view, which I thought was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But for the viewer, that's a really
it's even worse.
Point. Yeah.
It's even worse. If you know this is like, oh, the guy on top is better, the guy on bottom if he does that. But that's like the big picture.
Yeah.
But then there is like wrong grip.
Yeah.
There is a stalling call.
Yeah,
there is, addressing to the ref. There is grabbing small joints. There is, so
what submissions
it
illegal,
makes complicated
illegal,
for the average viewer.
Yeah.
If you don't know a lot, then it's gonna be tough for you to call it.
Yeah.
I was in a tournament, and this ref, which is a no ref. And everybody kind of like, oh, that ref is so good. And I started looking, and the ref was horrible.
Yeah.
Because he's a ref and famous for a submission only. So he doesn't actually rule tournaments with rules.
Yeah.
So he was a little off.
Yeah.
And he started calling bad. He started making back call after back call, like wrong points.
Yeah.
Like in the big picture. And I started yelling at him.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That didn't happen. And then after the fight, he came to me and I was like, can I talk to you? I was like, are you going to change the result of the fight?
Yeah.
No. Then I have nothing to talk to you. You clearly don't know what you're doing, and you shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But he didn't know who I was. He thought, this is just another
Some guy.
regular
Yeah.
viewer here, blah, blah, blah. Not someone with 32 years of experience.
Yeah.
So in that matter, I kind of like understand his point
Yeah.
because it's a lot of rules.
Yeah.
So that's my only problem with what's happening right now.
Yeah.
But if you really look inside the rules, for you to change a rule here, you're gonna change a lot of things throughout here and up to here that people don't think about it. Like, for instance, 50-50. It came in to jiu-jitsu and people are using that rule. Oh, I'm just gonna do advantage, come back. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do advantage. So now there's no advantage for that,
Yeah.
for that specific position. But then you have to think like, but if I do that on these other position, that's very close, then I still get it, you know. So now you have to really pay attention to not make the mistake to compare this to that. Instead of if you just really change that, then you just change the whole set of advantages for that situation. So it creates a problem. Like everything that you change here, even though it looks minor for you, it can be bigger for the next technique, the next position. So you have to be very careful of changing the rules. So people like, why don't they tell if there's a double pull, then the person that comes on top gets, instead of getting the advantage, he gets 2 points. Because that also is going to change something else over
Something in
there.
the fight.
Exactly. So you
Yeah.
have to be very careful to change the rules. Also, you cannot change the rule because a very small percentage have the strength there. You know, you have to always think the big picture. Like in jiu-jitsu, you can only be a black belt after 19, right? Because that was a reality. Today, you have people and kids that start training at 5. So when they get, 15, they already trained for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then they get 18, 13,
Yeah.
and then 19, 14 years.
Yeah.
Back in the day, that was basically like you already a badass black belt,
Yeah.
right? So those kids are training and they get there as a blue and purple belt, but they've already been there for 13,
Yeah,
14
yeah.
years, But you get a kid that is 17 and then you turn him into a black belt and now he's competing in adult black belt level against top of the world-class athletes. It's going to be really tough for that kid.
Yeah.
And also dangerous. Some kids can actually overcome that, but his percentage is so tiny. How are you going to change the rule for that little while the biggest majority will actually be in danger
Yeah.
by going on that level?
Yeah, jumping.
Like we have a kid that got his black belt as 18 and he already beat big black belt names. There is a kid that is 16 now and he was a blue belt and he beat black belt levels in another organization.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to IBJJF, he's still a blue belt or still a purple belt. And people are like, oh my God,
Yeah.
that is like sandbagging. I was like, no, it isn't. That kid is still 16. He's still a
Yeah,
kid.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
amazing, but there's not a lot of kids like him
Yeah,
yet
few and far
to
between.
make a difference to change the rules.
Yeah.
It is actually super dangerous for a kid to go against an adult.
Yeah.
Not all kids can actually do well. So in that matter, I think they should drop 1 year for the black belt, but that's it.
Yeah.
Everything else I think it still should be the same until, a couple generations ahead, they can prove that a 15, 16-year-old kid can actually go against a 24-year-old guy. So,
How do you feel with because I'm just looking back, like you mentioned Taekwondo, I trained Taekwondo, and sport Taekwondo changed how martial arts schools taught Taekwondo. So initially when I was younger, it was self-defense, it was like American kickboxing. Nowadays, it's a whole different thing. Judo, I have a lot of friends who did Judo, I did Judo for a little bit, and they started switching up what they could do at tournaments. So then it changed how it was taught in academies. How do you feel with jiu-jitsu with that? Do you think that's going to hurt us as a martial art? Or do you think it's, it's just, hey, you got to teach your students both. You got to make sure they know the concepts of a tournament, but also the concepts
tough
of
subject.
Competing.
For at the same time, you grow as a business, you dilute as a martial art.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu today, it's a lot more commercial than effective as a martial art. It was not that way. That was not the way we grew up on my generation. But that's how it's growing to be. It is tough because you do want to have a business, but you do want to be you want to be a badass.
Yeah.
It's hard to have both.
The balance.
It is very hard to have the balance. They diluted karate here. They diluted taekwondo here.
Yeah.
They diluted judo.
Yeah.
But again, if you really wanted to do something as a practitioner, then go look for it.
Yeah.
It's about you now.
Yeah.
You're gonna have access to information, endless information.
Yeah.
You have access to instruction, and now go look for it.
Yeah,
that's how you undilute. I'm just creating a word.
Yeah.
You undilute that watering kind of a situation.
Yeah.
Also the gyms, like the instructor. Like the instructor can go either way. Like he can go, I'm going to do business and I'm going to create a program that one size fits all, or I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to create, my students to be whatever belt they are anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it depends where you want to go, because you might lose a little, like you might lose the students because you're not giving all of them attention, but you're really creating this group to be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So you always have to think both ways. I think if you try to balance both, okay, I'm gonna do a program and a business, but I'm gonna add those guys in a different class. After my last class ends at 8, so 8 to 9, I'll open mats, and I'll also going to be there donating my own time without making any money out of those guys, but then I'll turn those guys really good competitors. And so you can do it, but then again, you work for free. So
I always look at it and go, it's that thing of, all right, jiu-jitsu when punches are being thrown and kicks, and then sport jiu-jitsu. But how do you get both to where it's going to be good for that person, God forbid, on the street, something happens. But I always kind of think, regardless, if you're a competitor, you know how to handle yourself. Let's face it, for the most part. So it's like, well, is that argument that valid? I don't know. Like, it is, but is it not? I don't know.
No, there is
obviously not barimboloing upside down on pavement.
No, of course not. You're not going to do that. Even if you're a barimbolo person, that doesn't mean that you're going to do that on the street.
You would use a basic fundamentals.
You can go either way. Today you have sports jiu-jitsu. Sports jiu-jitsu is a sport. You can handle yourself for sure. But it's a sport. You are training to compete with a set of rules. Even MMA today. If you think of MMA, maybe you shouldn't use MMA to defend yourself, because the other guy can be more evil than you are. Well, you're going with punches and kicks, and that guy comes with a knife.
Well, 5-minute round, and it stopped. Oh, you were saved. You're on bottom.
I'm MMA, so I'm gonna go it's easy, and the guy goes and rip your nose off. So, streets are different no matter what you train.
True.
You can think that self-defense is gonna blah blah blah. Yes. What my bigger intake of self-defense is buying time. I think I have that conversation with you before. It's time. So if you're in trouble and you can move around and kind of maintain a distance, someone nearby might hear it and then go there or call the police, and the police will arrive, and you're still kind of like So buying time for me is the best thing you can possibly teach people to have. other than that, man, it's kind of lucky time.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're like, you know, in the military, then you learn, you know, the evils of life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
then kicking the balls, biting the ear off, and stick your finger on the eyes.
Improvising.
Whatever there is loose on the street that you use against your guy, blah blah blah. But no, it's today. If you go into tournaments, jiu-jitsu is a sport.
Yeah.
You know, you can go in and have that self-defense classes if you like.
Yeah.
And I think it like at least people should be introduced to that. Okay, they need to be introduced to self-defense because they need to know that they exist. Mm-hmm. If they want to pursue that, they have to train on a daily basis, just like you do jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Because if you do that once every gazillion years, it's still not going to work. It doesn't matter.
It's like law enforcement training. Oh, you're going to do combatives once a year. Or the people who call and go, hey, can you run a women's self-defense class once? And you're like, well, once and then what? No, we just want you to come to our business and do it once.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just not going to work. In my opinion, that's even dangerous.
Yeah,
because you're giving false confidence to people, and they're going to shoot that, and the guy goes like, going to do something you're not expecting. You go like, oh, wait a second. You're not supposed to react to that.
You're supposed to run with an overhand right.
Yeah, no, exactly. Oh, your knife's supposed to be this way. No, like crazy, man. Stop it. No, so I think everyone should have a knowledge because you need to know that is out there.
Yeah.
But then again, if you want to pursue self-defense, you have to train that.
100%.
At least 3 times a week.
Yeah.
You know, just like
it's not the movies.
Just like the sports, jiu-jitsu sport. You want to go and compete, you have to train jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, same with anything else. You wanna be a runner, man. You don't go swimming. You go train, run.
Yeah.
And then you do that as much as you can, so you get better and better. You know. Because if you run like 2 times a week and you go to a marathon, you expect to be on the elite part. Sorry, you just fool yourself.
Yeah.
No, you want to be on the elite part. You train like an elite. You sacrifice a lot and then you go. Self-defense is the same thing. You live in a bad area. You want to use self-defense to save your life, man. Put that on your schedule on a regular basis. Other than that, man, it's lucky. It's lucky time.
I don't want to keep you here too late, but there's definitely one more thing I want to ask you. What do you feel with, and again, I'm thinking, as I'm saying it, I'm thinking, and how jiu-jitsu now is becoming like other sports or combat sports where like MMA, where people talk trash to each other and create all this stuff. So a part of me, I go, okay, in the world of MMA, I'm not a huge fan of it, but do I laugh at it sometimes? Sure. Do I understand it creates hype and people want to buy tickets and all that, just like boxing, everything else, or kickboxing? But for me, it was tough with jiu-jitsu because I always separated, no, this is a true martial art. MMA is a martial art, but it's a mix, so you take some of the tradition out of it. But jiu-jitsu is still a traditional martial art. So a part of me, I get the idea of creating revenue, but the other part of me, I hate it.
I still think that you should have some form of respect within whatever martial art. So if you call mixed martial art, you have to generate respect especially from your colleague. Yeah. It's a work colleague that you're going against. Yeah. He does the same job as you do. He gets there and then he put his skills to test, but it is a job. Yeah. Like tell me someone that likes to get their nose punched to the point that he breaks and goes on the side. Yeah. You might be tough and but then really enjoy it? No. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. There's not a single person that does that. Right? I think they lost the control, and I think people are just being disrespectful. And that is just pure bad. Like that is awful for any form of martial art. Yeah. I think jiu-jitsu as my martial art should be de-associated to that. Like, nope. There's no more jiu-jitsu in MMA because they are disrespectful within each other. Yeah. Yes. Oh, yes, it's entertaining. It's for the crowd, but then you have kids watching. Yeah. What kind of example you're going to give to the kids? So,
and now you even hear teams where it's like, wait, that's your family, that's your team, that's your gang. under the same roof talking trash about other fighters.
Yeah,
and I'm
it's
like,
just
man.
unbelievable. And also, people need to understand, MMA as a sport is also fake, because fake in a way that, man, you
Some of
go,
it's hype, yeah.
you go on the streets, you can know how to punch and kick and take it down, blah blah blah, but the guy have a knife,
Yeah.
you know, it's still fake.
Yeah,
you know, it's still a sport with set of rules. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
there is a set of rules that you have to follow.
Yeah.
You cannot grab the balls and reap your sack off, because I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
I saw a fight, and the guy grabbed the ball sack of this other guy and ripped.
Oh my
I
God.
saw it. It was not something that people told me about it. He was getting beat up.
Yeah.
He was literally like, he's on the ground, getting punched on the ground because the other guy had some jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And then he goes like, boom, 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 boom. That guy had to go to the emergency room to tie back up. So, again, yes, it will give you a big advantage, but it depends on how evil the other guy is.
Yeah.
I've seen a friend of mine losing a fight, and then he beat the other guy. The guy he was fighting was a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner from Carson, and this other guy was just a street fighter, and he had a really good hands for box.
Yeah.
But he was more evil. So the guy took him down, mounted on him, and then as he tried to do something like an armbar,
Yeah.
my friend just grabbed his thigh and then beat a piece of, a chunk of his skin off.
Yeah.
You know?
He's willing to do more.
Then the other guy was like, he's yelling, grabbing. He got out, he went back there and then punched the guy, and in my opinion, he ended up winning the fight. You know, so there's no set of rules outside.
Yeah.
That's what people don't understand. Even if you train MMA, you have a set of rules. Jiu-Jitsu, you have a set of rules. You Taekwondo, you have a set of rules to compete. You know, going outside that door, everything is a different world,
Yeah.
and it depends of, you know, how much you want to win, you know. So that is what I don't like it, because even those, they sound fake to me, you know, and it's very disrespectful. And I'm all about example. I lead by example, as you know. You lead by example. The Deco leads by example. So you have someone being so disrespectful, just tell the kids growing up that's how you should do to succeed, which is not true.
Yeah.
You can be nice and polite and still go there and succeed.
Yeah, and do your thing. Well, Alexey, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
This was
Danny.
amazing. Thank you so much. Guys, please check out Alexey Cruz, BJJ, Maine. What was that city called again? that you moved
Westbrook.
to? Westbrook. Westbrook, Maine. Guys, check him out. AlexeyBJJ.com. Go train jiu-jitsu. Thank you.